Hello, this is Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach, and you are watching or listening to another episode of The Rebound Coach Live. I am so glad that you're here with me today. If this is your first time sharing virtual space with me, or this happened just to pop up in your feed and you're like, who is this person and what exactly is a rebound coach? I'm a life coach and I help people get unstuck. Specifically, I serve high-achieving women of faith who've been through betrayal, trauma, or abuse and want to reclaim territory in their relationship with themselves. You might be like, that sounds like a mouthful. What? Why? I don't understand. So it came from my own story, guys. I survived 10 years of domestic violence, specifically emotional and religious abuse, spiritual abuse. And I was married 10 years to a dude who wanted me dead and almost had his chance. I am so grateful that I'm here with you today. You and I are sharing this moment. Myself and my children are alive and safe and well and unlearning and relearning. It didn't make sense for me to have the kind of marriage that I had, being a good Christian girl. I was raised in a Christian home. I had two parents that loved God, loved each other, married for a lifetime, and were a good example of a strong marriage and what to do and how to do. At the same time, I was molested from the time I was 8 to the time I was 16. And that really radically affects how you see yourself in a household of faith, how you relate to God, and growing up, how I related to men. So fast forward, when I met the man I married and eventually divorced, there were definitely red flags. There were definitely reasons not to be together. But as a praying woman, I believed that God's answer was yes. And because of that, I believe that whatever came, we'd outlast it. We'd overcome it. God would swoop in and save the day, and things would be different. Eventually, things would be great. And God did swoop in and save the day, but not in the way I was anticipating. We were in this cycle of what I call coping and crisis. This is where you're kind of barely making it. You're walking on eggshells. You're hoping not to upset him today. You're hoping not to cause a war in your house. And you do that coping dance for a long time. And then there's this explosion of a crisis. And you're not quite sure what to do right then. Everything's falling apart and you have to rebuild kind of that house of cards and that eggshell dance to get back to coping. And we did that for almost over 9 years, almost 10 years, when everything kind of blew up. End of 2019, beginning of 2020, he was a serial adulterer the whole marriage, but he finally left for another woman. And y'all, I found out him and that woman were plotting my murder. And that's always like a pause, even when I share the story, because it's not just a story, it was real. And they had been at that plan for months by the time I found out about it. Needless to say, your whole world stops and you have some really important questions to answer for yourself and really important decisions to make. And, you're threatened on every level, as a wife, as a mom, as just a woman, as a child of God, and as a coach. Y'all, I had been coaching for maybe 5 or 6 years by then, and coaching in the faith-based relationship space. So if you could imagine building this entire identity, this entire platform on how to stay married and why God wants you to be married and not unmarried, not divorced, and all the reasons why you should stay married no matter how hard it is. Because I had a very difficult marriage and I believed that staying married was the only way to honor God. And I believed that if I stayed married and prayed and did the right things long enough, that God would change him. And so we did that for a while. Everything blew up. And the way I share that part of the story is that I could allow the identity that my ex-husband had for me, and quite frankly, the one I had agreed to, tell me who I was, how I was allowed to live, how long I was allowed to live, literally my days left on the planet, and many other definitions or restrictions. Or I could choose life. And so by a series of outrageously divine events, we're here together sharing this time here in this virtual space. And y'all, I wrote a book called I Choose Life: Rewrite Your Love Story and Change Your Legacy. And this came out of crisis in my house, crisis in my heart, crisis in my life, and needing to make a different choice. And part of all of that crisis, I had a therapist in my house, a crisis therapist in my house, 3 times a week, not by my own will. Okay. So she said to me, write yourself a timeline of events, write down what happened. It helps you ground, it helps you stay, connected to the world and what's happening. And that outline was the bones of this book. Now, I don't start in the bad marriage, because an abusive marriage doesn't happen in a vacuum. That's usually the result of some other things, some other events, some other decisions, some other thought patterns, some other stuff. And I start there. So if anything in my story just rings a bell for you and says, I identify with that, or if you know someone who's experienced childhood sexual abuse, experienced domestic violence in any of its forms, even spiritual abuse from a church or another family member, if you love someone who has experienced abuse, betrayal, or trauma, and you want to help them, this book is for them. And also, October was Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And there are hurting people, hurting women in your community, at your workplace, going to your church, in your neighborhood. It's in every neighborhood. And if this is something that you are passionate about, or just a way you want to make a difference this holiday season, this Thanksgiving season, this time where we are helpful and hopeful to our fellow people, I recommend that you get this book and donate it. Donate it to your local domestic violence shelter. Donate it to your church's library. Donate it, because people need hope, and you can be that hope. You can be that lifeline for someone you care about. You can get this book at thereboundcoach.com/book. That is thereboundcoach.com/book. You can get one of these hard copies right here. I will personally sign it and mail it out to you, or you can get one from Amazon, or you can get an ebook also from Amazon and deliver it that way. I just encourage you, if you haven't gotten this for yourself, get it, read it, and share with me. Let me know. And if it's not for you, if it's for someone you care about, pass this on. Pass on hope, real hope, as we're preparing to buy gifts for people. Pass on hope. All right. So today, just want to share that with you. Today's topic, it's a very, very, very exciting topic, because the year's coming to a close. How to defeat the dream killer. So often we have dreams and goals and plans for the year, for the new year. Guys, 2023 is almost done. Can you believe that? 2023 is almost done. Like, it's almost done. It's almost over. And I know the older we get, like, the faster the time goes. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that it's almost over. And I gave up calling my goals resolutions a while back, but I think a lot of us kind of get in our minds what we would hope our new year would be like. So when they're counting down, whether you spend that countdown in prayer at a church somewhere, or you are partying it up, or you're at home watching the ball drop, or you're in bed. But no matter where you spend that moment, you have some ideas and some hopes of, man, this year I'm definitely going to do this. This year I'm definitely going to do that. And even if it's not around New Year's, we have dreams and hopes for our lives, especially when we're young. When no one can tell us, they try to tell us no, and we're like, we can't hear you. When No one can tell us we can't, and we believe that we can. We have these dreams set up for ourselves, and somewhere along the way, we trade that out for mediocrity. We trade it out for familiar. We trade it out for comfortable. We trade it out for survival, just survival. Especially folks who have experienced trauma of any kind. We had to adapt. We had to. There was no other choice. It was adapt or starve, or adapt or hurt our children, or adapt or, fall apart. And we chose to adapt. And we've done a darn good job of adapting, of surviving, of making it from day to day, of putting out fires and taking care of those we're responsible for. We've done so well with all of that. But there comes a time where we look around and say, well, what about me? What about the dream I had? The dreams I have? What about the things I want for my life? When is that going to happen? How am I going to get there? And so I encourage you to look at this year, 2023. Think about what you've purposed in your heart to do this year and go, how you doing with that? How am I doing with that? How close am I? How far away am I? Right? For those of us over 40, what did we get done? What did we get done so far in the year based on the goals we set? What did we get done? This year flew by. It's not over yet, but it's really, really close. And what did we do? And what can we do? Okay. So have we forgotten our dreams and traded them for status quo? It happens to all of us. It happens to all of us. I think at some level, we all at one point decide it is better, easier, more comfortable to maintain than to branch out. And sometimes we don't even, we tell ourselves we can't, we can't for whatever reason. I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too rich, I'm too poor, I'm too black, I'm too white, whatever it is that we tell ourselves that we can't do it, or we shouldn't try anymore, or it's not a thing we should hope for. We should just maintain, put out fires, or you tell yourself you have time. I have time. I have time. I can still do that. I have time. And you might, or you might not. And the thing about thinking you have time means you don't take any action, which means you need more time to do the thing, whatever the thing is. So it's easy to kick the can down the road, hoping for more time. So I do this too. Like, procrastinators, anybody? I saw a meme that said the procrastinators team is meeting tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Procrastinators Club. So if you're a procrastinator or a recovering procrastinator like myself, we kind of kick the can down the road. Like, oh, I got time. Oh, I have time. I need pressure. Pressure helps me. Pressure helps me perform. Yeah, no. Okay. But what if we don't have that time? And here's the real question. Who is suffering? Who is suffering because we won't do what we're supposed to do? Now, that it doesn't have to be a career goal. Sometimes in business, if you're a heart-centered entrepreneur, which I happen to have a lot of folks around me who are heart-centered entrepreneurs, they want to make a difference, not just a dollar. And those folks have literal people waiting on them to make their difference. And for those of us who are procrastinating because of pride, because of ego, because of fear, because of whatever we get in our own way, who's waiting for us to step out? Who's waiting for us to say, I will do it anyway? Who's waiting for us to be consistent? Who's waiting for us to be faithful? And I would just encourage you that there are those waiting on you, even if that is your family members, your children, your community, that's waiting for the difference that you have to make. Even yourself. If you're in a dangerous situation right now, you are waiting on you. And you may be like, no, I'm waiting on money. No, I'm waiting on time. No, I'm waiting on him to change. Nah, boo, you're waiting on you. You're waiting on you. And when you can decide that you are worth the effort, whatever the effort entails, and it is effort, and it's not easy, and it's not automatic, because if it was, everyone would be doing the thing. It's not easy, and it's not automatic. Now, I will tell you, when I was in an abusive marriage, you could not convince me to leave. You could not convince me to leave. And people tried, right? People would get a whiff of what I was dealing with and would be like, why don't you just leave? And that honestly, it gave me the opposite effect. I would get angry and defensive and steal up my resolve, not just to stay, but to fight. I'm a fighter, definitely a fighter. And I was fighting for his healing, and I was fighting for his deliverance, and I was fighting for my life to get better, because he needed to get better for my life to get better. At least that's what I thought. The reality was I needed to choose better for my life to get better, because ultimately we don't control anyone else's choices. So I could invite him to choose differently, but I couldn't make him choose differently. And as he continued to show me where he was and what his choice was, he was making a choice, right? He was choosing not to change, not to be faithful, not to provide, not to stop abusing, right? That's a decision. It is a decision. And when people make their decisions and they show you who they are, you also have a decision. Okay, he's not going to stop cheating. What does that mean for me? Right? What does that mean for me? And for a long time, it didn't mean anything. It meant I was just going to be married to a cheater. And I was just going to have the pain it took being married to a cheater. You talk about a dream killer, how to defeat the dream killer, right? And I didn't allow myself to imagine an adultery-free marriage. I didn't allow myself to imagine a marriage where I wasn't the sole breadwinner. I didn't allow myself to imagine an equal partner, because I was very committed. I made this decision. This is my lot. This is what I have. This is what I'm going to deal with. It was not until things were extremely dangerous and my life was in danger before I decided to go get safe. Right? And that wasn't a decision to leave my marriage. It was a decision to be safe. The other decisions came later down the road. And I wasn't ready until I was ready. Right? I wasn't ready till I was ready. But I was the one suffering because I wasn't ready or willing to make a different decision. And it came to the place of, you know what? I'm worth safety. I'm worth forever safety, not for the moment safety. And God himself had to do a whole work. So not getting into all of that, but there are those we are meant to impact, and that includes ourselves. And I just ask you to take a little inventory in your own heart and answer for yourself. Who's waiting on me to say yes? Who's waiting on me to take action? And am I waiting on me? Am I causing myself to suffer in my situation? And what can I do to make that right? Okay, so we've established some dream killers, right? What do you do? What do I do to slay the dream killer? All right. So what goals? No, it's a couple things to identify if you're taking notes. Here's number one. What goals got lost in the shuffle? So whatever that is, if you are a goal maker and a list maker, go back to your list from the beginning of the year. What did you set up for yourself? Who did you say that you would become? Who did you say that you would become? I will become a person who works out. I will become a person who reads their Bible. I will become a person who saves their money. I will become a person who takes better stewardship of my time. I will become a person who has family time and, vacations with my family. Whatever that is, who did you decide to become? What goals got lost in the shuffle? Number two, what steps can you take to move toward it? And you're like, it's November. There's not a whole lot I can do. There's something you can do to move forward, to move toward your goal and your dream. Okay. And number three, and this is important, what are you willing to give up to get it? All the goals, all the dreams have a price. Most of the time, it's a price we're not willing to pay, which is why we sit on the side of unfulfilled dreams and unfulfilled hopes, because we're not willing to pay the price. But there is a price, and I would encourage you to count the cost. And if you're like, you know what, it's not worth all that, that's an okay decision. That is an okay decision. Just own wherever you are, be there. Say, you know what? I looked at that thing. I don't think it's worth it. I'm going to just sit right here. That is fully within your rights and in your decision. I encourage you to own that if that's where you are. But for those of you that say, you know what, come hell or high water, I must do this. I must do this. I will not wait another day, week, month, year. Not another ball drop happens and I didn't do X. Congratulations. You are defeating the dream killer. Okay? Know what you're willing to give up. And it does, you have to give up whatever is right now to get whatever is ahead. And what's right now might be a good thing. So you might have to give up good for great. And most of the time we're giving up comfort for discomfort, at least in the beginning, because that's the cycle. That's the cycle it takes. So I'm going to give you some action steps. Number one, if you are watching this on the replay, I would like you to please comment that you are watching the replay so I can respond to your comment. And thank you for being a part of this. Also, let me know what goals got lost in the shuffle for you since the beginning of 2023 or at any time in your life. Where did things get lost? Okay, so put in your comments, hey, I'm watching the replay and the goal that got lost in the shuffle for me is, okay. Also tell me what steps you're going to do to move toward the goal and tell me what you're willing to give up to reach it. And that's the hard part, but it's also the true part. So there's other practical actions for you to take. Number one, if you've experienced anything like my story or know someone who does, please get the book, I Choose Life, at thereboundcoach.com/book, thereboundcoach.com/book. My dad was in radio and he used to repeat everything. So that's where I got it from. thereboundcoach.com/book. You can get a copy of I Choose Life. Also, y'all, I'm looking for, let me back it up. So I've been a part of this community for a long time, this particular community that has been just a tremendous source of life. I shared my story with you earlier. I lived in a very toxic environment. I was literally married to a very toxic environment and a place that was just stuffy and full of death and decay. And this community was a breath of fresh air. Every chance that I got to be a part of it, I grew. And even when I couldn't do very much, right? They would have events and, I'd have to pray and do a whole bunch of tactics to get my ex-spouse to tell me I could go. And it was always worth it because of the growth that happened in me. I grew in my relationship skills. Even in that horrible situation, it helped me deal with that. It helped me maintain what I had to maintain. It helped me stay safe. and other parts of my life grew too. And I always told myself that I would bring my community lifers. How do you guys like lifers? I'm being a little distracted today, but I was thinking about naming us as a community, as a group, as an I Choose Life army. So tell me what you like. Put in the comments. Do you like lifers? Do you want to be called a lifer? Do you want to be called an I Choose Life army soldier or I Choose Life soldier? Like, let me know. I'm really curious for real, because I think we should have a name. We are a community. We're a team. We're an army of people who are choosing life, who are choosing life. And what that means is, in your decision of maintaining versus going for the dream, you're going to go for the dream, even if that is the tiniest step. Doesn't mean you have to do some big grand gesture. It just means you have to decide to move forward instead of back. Move forward instead of back. And I promise, when we don't move, we are sliding backwards. So take a step forward. Take a tiny step forward. That is choosing life. Every day, that is choosing life. And so I'm looking for 5 people to join me at this next event. It's called First Steps of Success, and it is in Orlando, Florida in January 26th, 27th, and 28th. And I'm looking for 5 people to come with me. I have 5 discounted tickets. If you go to the regular website, you're going to find a certain price, and I have discounted tickets. So if you're like, Dallas, I am serious about moving forward. I'm serious about choosing life. I am serious about taking my life to the next level. Talked about next level last week, or 2 weeks ago. Hit me up. Hit me up. If you're watching this on Facebook, you can DM me, or if you're on YouTube, you can comment or DM me, or just say, hey, look, I want to choose life. I'm serious. I'm serious. So check that out. Also, stay tuned. We're going to be doing a special webinar soon. And in January, also, there will be an opportunity to coach with me. I have limited availability in my calendar, so I don't get to make these offers often, but I will be making an offer for my calendar in January for those who are really serious about making the change in their life and saying, you know what, no more bruised and battered heart, no more running in fear from people and from love, no more not knowing how to handle life beyond putting out fires, no more living in mediocrity. It's time for a change, time for me to choose life. So for those of you who want that, hit me up. I want to share just an encouraging video with you that blesses my soul, and I hope encourages your heart too, as we are facing the end of this year and defeating the dream killer.
You how you were today, you'd say you were fine. I also know what that fine means. It means you're alive, you're clicking through the to-do list every day, and haven't collapsed yet. I also know the collapse that's happening behind closed doors. You wonder why no one sees you cracking from the inside. Your 50% capacity is someone else's 150, so it always looks like you're doing just fine. You fooled everyone, even yourself, into thinking you don't need more than what you already have. But baby, you need so much more. I want you to know that I see you. I see your great worth, your beautiful strength, your resilience and tenacity. I reach past your intellect and speak to your spirit to say that you are so much more than the trials you've been through. You're not defined by who touched you, who left you, who ignored you, or who betrayed you. You're so much more than the men that laid you waste. I know you didn't feel like you had a choice in giving everyone what they wanted from you. But I am here to help you walk in your power unapologetically. I wrote this book to help you. I'm bearing my scars so you know you're not alone. I want you to know that there's hope and freedom for you. not just survival or the everlasting wait for something good to finally happen. There's more to the love story than the preachers told you. Playing their game never worked anyway, now has it? Process your story while you read mine. This isn't meant to merely entertain you or to cause pity for me. I need you to know that walking through your own darkness is the way to the light. The only way out is through, and the only one to decide to take the road less traveled is you. No one can choose greatness over mediocrity but you. The status quo is to think that because what happened is over and you're functioning, that you've survived and nothing else needs to be done. But the greatness within you lays dormant, and those you're meant to feed your truth are starving. Work through this, my dear, work through this. We need you. On the other side of working through your trauma, so much love. Being able to receive the loving touch of your bridegroom, making up for all the touches that took from you. He sees you too. I've been sent to give you this message because he wants to breathe life into your very soul. In all the places that have gone uncared for, neglected, and rotting. If you allow his light on the pages to touch you there, you'll see that this book will breathe life into your relationship with yourself. That changes your love story and trickles through all areas of your life. Most importantly, this book will breathe life into your relationship with hope. I can't wait to introduce you to your true self. And if you're ready to, then let's go.
Let's go! Okay. That always encourages me, and I hope it encourages you. Your life isn't over, which means there's room, there's time, there's space, and yes, you can. Thank you so much for joining me on today's The Rebound Coach Live. And until next time, choose life.